This is the all-new 3rd generation BMC Roadmachine, which in and of itself is a beautiful performance-packed bike. And we'll get more into that in a second. But what's even more interesting to me is what this bike says about the cycling industry as a whole. You see, for a while now, premium brands like BMC have been pushing the boundaries with very specialized discipline-specific bikes. But this 2024 Roadmachine might just be the most versatile bike they've ever made. And that begs the question, can a bike designed to do a bit of everything still pack the same niche-specific performance as its more narrowly focused peers? Well, if you ask BMC, it sure can. So in this video, we're going to try to figure out what makes this new BMC Roadmachine so special, and ultimately help you decide whether it should be your next bike. One of the first things to catch my eye on this new Roadmachine was its super wide 40mm tire clearance. To my knowledge, the only other endurance bike to be able to match that is the specialized Roubaix. Even more impressive is the fact that BMC was able to do that while still keeping the chainstays 10mm less than that of the Roubaix, but we'll talk more about the geometry here in a little bit. Another thing adding to the bike's versatility is the compliance that's built into the rear triangle. The bent seat stays, D-shaped seat post, and cutaway in the seat tube all help dampen bumps and vibration without diminishing power transfer and efficiency. The new Roadmaster is only available in carbon, but there are 2 different carbon frames you can choose from, both of which have the same geometry, but the more premium 01 frame does use a higher mod carbon layup, and it claims to cut the weight down by about 8% across all sizes. New to both frames for 2024 is an in-frame storage compartment located in the downtube. This, as well as 2 bottle cage mounts in the front triangle and an additional pair of mounts in the top tube, help keep the Roadmachine looking fast and clean, even when loaded down with all the water, snacks, and tools you need for an all-day epic. Now, speaking of epics, that standard frame I mentioned earlier is compatible with front and rear fenders, but the 01 frame is not. They've decided to ditch that for increased weight savings. Lastly, being a BMC, you can of course expect exquisite touch points and attention to detail. It shares the same stealth dropouts that you'd see on the Team Machine, and is compatible with an integrated rear light that comes stock on the 01 builds and can be purchased separately for the rest. So clearly the Roadmachine has plenty of fancy bells and whistles to help increase looks and performance, but what about geometry? Well, this is where you really start to see this bike's true multifaceted performance start to come through. The 3rd gen bike sees a slightly higher stack and shorter reach than the outgoing model, which should help make for a slightly more upright and comfortable riding position. But don't think that it's gone all soft. The Roadmachine is still one of the most aggressive endurance bikes on the market. A size 56 has a 388mm reach, 595mm stack height, and a relatively slack 72.2 degree head tube angle. Paired with that longer front end are some impressively short 415mm chainstays across all 6 sizes, putting the wheelbase on a 56cm frame at 1010mm. While we have sadly yet to spend any time on this new Roadmachine, I think it's a safe bet to say that compliance built into the rear triangle, the relatively slack head tube angle, and of course that wide tire clearance should make it a very comfortable and versatile bike, even on light gravel or rough cobblestone roads. That said, its compact wheelbase and relatively aggressive riding position should still make it plenty fast enough for group rides or even the occasional race. And to us, that sounds like an extremely versatile bike, but we want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments whether you think the Roadmachine is enough bike to handle all of your road and gravel options, or if you'd still rather stick to having 2 separate bikes. Moving on then from the frame to the different complete bike models you can buy it as. And the Roadmachine is available in 2, we'll call them build kits, both a conventional 2x endurance road bike setup and an all-road 1x setup that BMC designates with an X. The difference between these 2 categories of bikes comes down entirely to the components. They both share the same frame, and with both the standard and X model, you can get the standard frame or the 01 frame with that higher mod carbon. Aside from that front chainring count, the only other major differences between these bikes is tire choice and then some cockpit setup stuff. More specifically, the X series bikes gets BMC's micro travel technology or MTT stem, with interchangeable elastomers offering up to 20mm of travel. Lastly, it's worth noting that for 2024, the Roadmachine is available as a pedal assist bike with a 370 watt-hour battery and TQ HPR 50 motor, but we're not going to be covering that guy in this video. As for the analog bikes, you can pick up a Roadmachine in one of 9 different complete bike options. ranging from the Roadmachine 5, which lists for $3,299, and topping out with the $12,999 01-2, which weighs in at just 15.9 pounds or 7.2 kilograms. Of these bikes, 6 are available with that double chainring endurance bike build, whereas only 3 come in that all-road setup. And to be honest, that's fine by us. We'd personally choose to have that added versatility and gear range from the 2x setup, and to be honest, even though none of us have ridden it, aren't particularly allured by that MTT stem. Speaking of the bikes we choose, we think the Roadmachine 2 is the best value of the bunch. This $5,499 bike weighs at a very respectable 18.1 pounds or 8.2 kilograms, which is especially impressive considering the in-frame storage, fender compatibility, and wide tire clearance. This bike also gets a sensible set of performance-oriented components like the Ultegra Di2 group set, BMC's in-house XRD 522 wheels with a 25mm internal width, and Vittoria Rubino tires. But now, you might be wondering how this new Roadmachine compares to the quickly growing group of cross-disciplinary, versatile road bikes. So let's start by pitting that same Roadmachine 2 we just talked about up against the Specialized Roubaix SL8 Comp. At $5,000, the Specialized is about $500 less than the BMC, but for that, you're going to get a pretty hefty weight penalty of nearly 2 pounds. This not only comes from the slightly lower end components you're getting on that less expensive bike, but also specialized future shock suspension system integrated into the front of the frame. As you'd imagine, this greatly increases compliance and comfort. And speaking of comfort, the Roubaix shares that same wide 40mm tire clearance and fender compatibility that you'll get on the Roadmachine, but it does lack the internal frame storage. Lastly, the Specialized and the BMC share almost identical geometry, with a wheelbase difference in a 56cm frame of just 2mm. The Specialized does, however, have a slightly longer reach and steeper head tube angle, which should give the bike a bit more of an aggressive feel. So which is best for you? To be honest, these bikes are so similar, it's really going to come down to which of those specific frame features are most important to you. Do you want that internal frame storage that you get on the BMC, or would you be better served by that future shock on the Specialized Roubaix? For me personally, I think I would take the BMC and save myself a little weight, plus I love the idea of being able to store stuff in my frame and not on my body or external storage bags. So we've compared the Roubaix to a road bike that's teetering on gravel, but what about a gravel bike that's converging on road? Well, that's what our next comparison is, and that's the giant Revolt Advanced 1. This 2x gravel bike has often been discredited for its conservative stance in the growing field of adventure-focused gravel bikes, but that makes it a great candidate for an all-road specialist like the Roadmachine. At $5,500, the Revolt Advanced 1 is the exact same price as the Roadmachine 2, and the components on both bikes are pretty much apples to apples, with the exception of the in-house carbon fiber wheels that you're going to find on the Giant. Speaking of wheels, the Revolt has clearance for up to some massive 53mm tires, but you won't find any fancy features like in-frame storage or stealth dropouts on the Giant. The geometry on these two bikes is surprisingly similar too, especially considering the fact that they're technically designed for two different disciplines of riding. The head tube angle on that Revolt is actually just 0.2 degrees slacker than on the Roadmachine. It also sees a 10mm bump in reach and chainstay length, which puts the wheelbase of the Revolt at just 1,031mm, only 20 more than the BMC. So which is best for you? Well, if you plan to spend a majority of your time on rough roads or light gravel, then the more stable geometry and additional tire clearance on the Giant could come as a relief. But the Giant's sporty geometry and 2x drivetrain should still keep it plenty fast on road rides too. The Roadmachine, on the other hand, should be your pick if you still plan to spend a majority of your time on smooth tarmac, but want the freedom to be able to explore elsewhere every once in a while. In total, the 2024 BMC Roadmachine is another bike that's blurring the line between road and gravel, and we like that. We're also very impressed by the bike's low weight, wide tire clearance, and of course that downtube storage compartment that's still relatively rare to find on road bikes. Unsurprisingly, you can really see BMC's legendary attention to detail come through on this bike. And while it might not be the best value on paper, it's an excellent choice for the rider who wants the combination of bespoke beauty and versatile utility. If you have any more questions about the BMC Roadmachine, then you can drop those down there in the comments and I'll do my best to find you an answer. While you're there, if you haven't done so already, please take a second to go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the 99 Spokes YouTube channel. And lastly, remember that bikes are for everyone. Have fun out there.